Welcome to a journey through the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Get comfortable, relax, and let these stories carry you gently into rest. We begin in 1960, a year of new beginnings. The owner, Clint Murchison Jr., had a vision. He wanted to bring professional football to Dallas. But getting an NFL franchise wasn't simple. The league had its rules, its politics, its complications. Murchison needed leverage. And so, in one of the most creative maneuvers in sports history, he did something unexpected. He purchased the rights to the Washington Redskins fight song, their beloved, iconic fight song. The Redskins owner, George Preston Marshall, was furious. He needed that song back. And Murchison, well, he was willing to negotiate. The price? An NFL franchise for Dallas. Before the Cowboys ever stepped onto a field, before they ever wore their silver and blue, they had already created a rivalry. A rivalry born not from competition, but from clever business dealings. It was the perfect beginning for a team that would become known for doing things differently. And so, the Dallas Cowboys were born. They joined the National Football League as an expansion team in 1960. This was significant. They became the league's first modern expansion team south of Washington, D.C. The South was getting its team, Texas was getting its team, and Dallas, a city growing rapidly, a city of ambition and oil money and big dreams, Dallas was ready for professional football. But what should they be called? Every team needs a name, an identity. The first choice was the Dallas Steers. Strong, Texan, representative of the cattle industry that had built the state's wealth. But someone realized, calling your players steers might not inspire the toughness you want in football. Steers are, well, castrated bulls. Not exactly the image you're going for. So they tried again. The Dallas Rangers. That had a nice ring to it. Lawmen of the Old West. Texas Rangers. Justice and strength. But there was a problem. A minor league baseball team already used that name in the area. And so, just before the inaugural season, they settled on a third option. The Dallas Cowboys. Simple, iconic, unmistakably Texan. Cowboys represented the frontier spirit, independence, ruggedness. It was perfect, and it stuck. Building a team from nothing requires vision. Clint Murchison knew this, and so he hired Tex Schramm as the franchise's first general manager. Tex Schramm, a visionary in his own right, immediately began shaping something special. He didn't just want a football team. He wanted an organization that would innovate, that would set trends, that would change how the game was played and presented. Schramm understood entertainment. He understood that football was becoming more than just a sport. It was becoming a spectacle. And he was going to make sure Dallas was at the center of that spectacle. For head coach, they needed someone special, someone disciplined, someone who could build a program from the ground up. They found that person in Tom Landry. Landry was hired as the Cowboys' first head coach, and he would remain in that position for 29 years. 29 years. An entire generation. Landry, with his trademark fedora and stoic demeanor, would become synonymous with the franchise. He was innovative, always thinking, always designing new defensive schemes and offensive strategies. He brought a scientific approach to football, treating it like a chess match, always thinking several moves ahead. September 24th, 1960. The Cotton Bowl in Dallas. The Cowboys were about to play their first ever game. The opponent, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The crowd was excited, hopeful, curious to see their new team. And for a while, it was competitive. The Cowboys fought hard. They scored touchdowns. They showed flashes of potential, but in the end, they lost 35-28. It was a respectable showing, a close game, but a loss nonetheless. Still, there was hope. They had competed. They had shown they belonged. But that hope would be tested, severely tested. The Cowboys' inaugural season was difficult. They lost their second game, and their third, and their fourth. Week after week, they fought, but they couldn't find a way to win. By the end of that first season, their record stood at 0 wins, 11 losses, and 1 tie. 0-11-1. It was the worst debut by an expansion team at that time. Starting a team from scratch is hard. You're playing against established franchises with years of chemistry, experienced players, developed systems. The Cowboys were building with spare parts, untested rookies, cast-offs from other teams. Every game was a learning experience. Every loss was a lesson, and the losing didn't stop after that first year. From 1960 to 1964, Dallas endured 5 straight losing seasons. 5 years of disappointment, 5 years of growing pains. In their first 70 games, they won just 17. 17 wins in 70 games. For fans, it was frustrating. For the coaches and players, it was exhausting. But Tom Landry never wavered. He kept teaching, kept building, kept believing that the system would work, that the pieces would come together, that patience would be rewarded. During these difficult early years, one player emerged as the team's first true star. Don Meredith, Dandy Don. He was a local product, a quarterback from Southern Methodist University right there in Dallas. The fans loved him. He was talented, charismatic, tough. He represented hope. If the Cowboys were going to turn things around, Meredith would be the one to lead them. And slowly, gradually, the team improved. The losses became closer. The victories became more frequent. The system, Landry's system, was starting to work. And then, in 1965, something changed. After 5 years of losing, after 5 years of struggle, the Dallas Cowboys finally reached 500. They won as many games as they lost. It might not sound like much, but it was everything. It signaled the end of their growing pains. It showed that the foundation was solid. The future was beginning to arrive. Rest now, and we'll continue the journey through the decades of Cowboys history. Next time, settle in, breathe slowly, and let's continue our journey through Cowboys history. Every great team needs a symbol, something simple, something memorable, something that captures the essence of who they are. For the Dallas Cowboys, that symbol was a star. The iconic Blue Star logo, introduced in 1960, was inspired by something deeply Texan. The Lone Star, Texas. The Lone Star State has always worn that symbol with pride. A single star, representing independence, uniqueness, standing alone. It was perfect for a football team trying to forge its own identity. That blue star, simple and bold, appeared on the helmets from the very beginning. Clean lines, no unnecessary decoration, just a star. And fans, they loved it immediately. But even icons can be refined. In 1964, just 4 years after the team's founding, the logo received a subtle but important update. A white border was added around that blue star. It made the logo pop. It gave it definition, made it stand out even more against the silver helmet. And from that moment, from 1964 onward, the logo has remained largely unchanged. Think about that. 60 years, and the design still works, still looks modern. still instantly recognizable. That's the mark of truly great design. Simplicity, timelessness, power. The colors, too, became part of the identity. Silver, navy blue, and white. The silver helmets gleamed under stadium lights. The navy jerseys looked sharp and professional. The white away uniforms, crisp and clean. Together, these colors created one of the most recognizable color schemes in all of sports. You could see those colors from across a crowded sports bar, from the other side of a stadium, and you'd know immediately, that's Dallas. That's the Cowboys. The colors became synonymous with a certain style, a certain swagger, a certain way of playing the game. Tom Landry, that innovative mind, wasn't content to just coach football the way it had always been coached. He thought about the game differently. In 1960, the same year the franchise began, Landry invented something that would change football forever: the shotgun formation. Instead of taking the snap directly under center, the quarterback would stand several yards back. This gave him time to read the defense, time to see the field, time to make decisions. At first, Landry used it sparingly. It was experimental, unusual, something opponents weren't prepared for. But by 1966, he unleashed it league-wide. The shotgun formation spread throughout the NFL. Today, you see it in nearly every game. Every team uses variations of it. And it all started with Tom Landry thinking differently. The Cowboys were innovators in other ways too. In the 1960s, most teams scouted players the old-fashioned way. Coaches would watch film, take notes, rely on instinct and experience. But the Cowboys, they embraced technology. They pioneered computerized scouting, feeding data into computers, analyzing statistics, finding patterns that human eyes might miss. It gave them an edge. They could identify undervalued players, spot trends in performance, make more informed decisions. Other teams thought it was overkill, too complicated, too impersonal. But Dallas, they were building something modern, something that matched their city's forward-thinking identity. And it worked. The franchise also pushed for changes to the game itself. After controversial calls and missed opportunities throughout the 1970s, the Cowboys were among the loudest voices advocating for technological assistance. They pushed for instant replay adoption. Finally, after the 1974 season, discussions began in earnest. The idea was simple: use technology to get calls right. Don't let human error decide games. It would take years for instant replay to be fully implemented. But Dallas was there from the beginning, advocating for progress, for accuracy, for innovation. On the field, something special was developing. In 1966, a Dallas sports writer was searching for the perfect nickname for the Cowboys' defense. They were fierce, relentless. They dominated opponents week after week. And so, he coined a phrase: doomsday defense. It was perfect, ominous, powerful, apocalyptic. The doomsday defense. Opponents feared them. Quarterbacks dreaded facing them. And the name stuck. 4 years, through different players and different eras, that defense would carry the doomsday nickname. It became part of Cowboys lore, part of their identity. They weren't just a defense. They were doomsday. But being great on the field wasn't enough for Tex Schramm. He understood something that many team executives didn't. Television was changing sports. More people watched games on TV than attended in person. And if you wanted to build a national brand, you needed national TV exposure. The Cowboys, they got it. Thanksgiving games became a Cowboys tradition. Every year, families across America would gather for turkey and football, And there were the Cowboys. In their living rooms, prime-time slots followed. Sunday night games, Monday night games, the bright lights, the big stages. Dallas was there, consistently, year after year. This wasn't accidental. Tex Schramm deliberately positioned Dallas as a national brand, not just a regional team. He didn't want the Cowboys to be Texas's team. He wanted them to be everyone's team, or at least everyone's second favorite team. He marketed them aggressively. He made sure their games were televised widely. He cultivated relationships with media. He understood showmanship. He knew that football was entertainment, and entertainment needed star power, glamour, excitement. And slowly, a phrase began to emerge. You'd hear it from broadcasters, read it in newspapers, see it in highlight reels. America's team. The Dallas Cowboys weren't just another franchise. They were America's team. Some fans of other teams hated it, resented it. How dare Dallas claim to represent all of America? But others, they embraced it. The Cowboys' popularity spread beyond Texas, beyond the South, across the entire country. People in New York wore Cowboys jerseys. Kids in California dreamed of playing for Dallas. The brand, the identity, it transcended geography. America's team. It was bold, presumptuous even, but it was also accurate. The Cowboys had become something bigger than a football team. They had become an institution, a symbol, a touchstone of American sports culture. Rest easy, knowing that this is just the beginning of the Cowboys' journey to greatness. Close your eyes, let your breathing slow, and drift back to an era of dominance. From 1966 to 1985, the Dallas Cowboys did something remarkable, something that had never been done before, and has never been matched since. 20 consecutive winning seasons, 20 years, without a single losing record. Think about that for a moment. 2 full decades of excellence. Players came and went, opponents changed, the league evolved, but the Cowboys, they just kept winning. Season after season, year after year, they found a way to finish above 500. It became an NFL record, a testament to consistency, to coaching, to organizational excellence. Other teams had great runs, a few years of dominance, but nobody sustained it like Dallas did during those 2 decades. The 1970s, that was the Cowboys' golden age. During that single decade, Dallas won 105 regular season games, more than any other franchise in football. They weren't just good. They weren't just competitive. They were the standard, the team everyone else measured themselves against. Week after week, they executed. They dominated. They won 105 games in 10 years. That's an average of more than 10 wins per season, every single season, for an entire decade. In 1970, the defense reached its peak. The Cowboys led the entire NFL in total defense. They also led in takeaways, constantly forcing turnovers, creating opportunities for their offense, and they led in scoring defense, keeping opponents out of the end zone, suffocating them, frustrating them. It was the doomsday defense at its absolute best. Opponents would game plan all week, come in with strategies and adjustments, and it didn't matter. Dallas was simply too good, too fast, too disciplined. At the heart of that defense was Bob Lilly, Mr. Cowboy, number 74, a defensive tackle who played the game with relentless intensity. Bob Lilly anchored the doomsday defense for 14 seasons, 14 years, and in all that time, he never missed a single game, not one. Think about the physical toll football takes, the injuries, the wear and tear, the accumulation of hits and collisions. But Lilly, he was always there, always in the lineup, always in the trenches. His durability was legendary. His skill was undeniable. He was the foundation upon which the entire defense was built. On offense, the Cowboys had their own revolutionary weapon, Bob Hayes. Before he was a football player, Bob Hayes was the world's fastest human, an Olympic gold medalist in track and field. He could run the 100-yard dash faster than anyone alive. And when he came to football, he brought that speed with him. Bob Hayes revolutionized the deep passing game. Defensive backs had never faced anyone that fast. They couldn't keep up. They couldn't cover him. Suddenly, the Cowboys could throw the ball deep, anytime, anywhere on the field. Hayes would run by defenders, run past them, leave them grasping at air. Defenses had to adjust. They had to play differently, and it opened up the entire Cowboys offense. Speed, pure Olympic-level speed, changed the game. In 1971, the Cowboys moved to a new home, Texas Stadium. It was magnificent, modern, designed specifically for football and for spectacle. And it had one unusual feature that became iconic: a hole in the roof. The stadium had a roof, but it wasn't completely enclosed. There was an opening, a hole right in the center. People joked that it was so God could watch his favorite team. Others said it let the Texas sunshine in, kept the stadium from feeling closed off. Whatever the reason, that hole in the roof became as famous as the team itself. For almost 40 years, Texas Stadium was home, the place where legends were made. And speaking of legends, Super Bowl VI, January 16, 1972, the Dallas Cowboys against the Miami Dolphins. Dallas had been so close before. They'd been to the Super Bowl and lost. The narrative was that they couldn't win the big one, that they choked under pressure, that they were talented but not clutch. All of that ended on that day. The Cowboys dominated Miami, 24-3. It wasn't close. Dallas controlled the game from start to finish. Their defense was impenetrable. Their offense was efficient and powerful. And when the final whistle blew, the Cowboys had their first championship. The monkey was off their back. They were champions. Roger Staubach, the quarterback, was named Super Bowl VI MVP. Roger the Dodger, Captain America, he had orchestrated the offense beautifully, made the right decisions, led the team with poise and confidence. Staubach was special, a Naval Academy graduate who had served his country before playing professional football. He brought leadership, intelligence, and clutch playmaking to the Cowboys. And on that day in January, he proved he was a champion. But here's an interesting piece of trivia. The year before, in Super Bowl V, the Cowboys had lost to the Baltimore Colts, 16-13, a heartbreaking loss on a last-second field goal. But even in defeat, a Cowboys player made history. Chuck Howley, a linebacker, was named Super Bowl V MVP. Despite his team losing, he's the only player ever to win Super Bowl MVP while being on the losing team. Howley had played brilliantly: 2 interceptions, forced turnovers, dominant defensive performance. The voters recognized excellence. Even in defeat, it was unusual, unprecedented, and it's never happened since. The Cowboys returned to the Super Bowl again in January of 1978. Super Bowl XII, this time against the Denver Broncos. And once again, Dallas was dominant, 27-10. Another convincing victory, another championship. But this time, something unusual happened with the MVP award. They couldn't choose just one player. Two Cowboys shared the honor. Randy White, a defensive tackle, and Harvey Martin, a defensive end. Dual MVPs. Both had been unstoppable. Both had wrecked Denver's game plan. Both deserved recognition, so they split the award. Two doomsday defenders, standing together, hoisting the trophy. But the 1970s weren't all championships and glory. There was heartbreak too. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the dynasty of that era. Dallas and Pittsburgh met in the Super Bowl 3 times during the 70s. And 3 times, the Cowboys lost. Super Bowl 10, Super Bowl 13. Each loss stung. Super Bowl 13 in particular is remembered as a classic. Dallas versus Pittsburgh, January 1979. Back and forth. Lead changes. Incredible plays. The Cowboys fought valiantly, but Pittsburgh, they were just slightly better that day. 35-31. It was glorious football, but it ended in defeat. Those losses to the Steelers, they defined the era as much as the victories. Two great teams, two dynasties, and Pittsburgh just barely had the edge. After winning Super Bowl 6, the Cowboys did something new. They held a ring ceremony, and it wasn't just for the team. It was televised. The first time a Super Bowl ring ceremony had ever been broadcast. Again, that showmanship, that understanding of entertainment and brand building. Tex Schramm knew that fans wanted to feel connected. They wanted to celebrate with the team, so the Cowboys let them. On television, in their homes. It was another innovation, another way Dallas was different. Thanksgiving games, they became tradition. Starting in 1966, the Cowboys played on Thanksgiving Day. Year after year, it became something families expected. Turkey, football, the Dallas Cowboys. All across America, people turned on their TVs in the afternoon, and there was Dallas. Playing football on Thanksgiving became as much a Cowboys tradition as the star on their helmet. And the ratings, they were enormous. The 1978 Thanksgiving game drew over 41 million viewers. 41 million people watching the Cowboys. That's the power of tradition. That's the power of consistent national exposure. By the end of the 70s, it was undeniable. The Cowboys had become the most watched team in the NFL. Not just in Texas, not just in the South, everywhere. More people tuned in to watch Dallas than any other franchise. America's team wasn't just a nickname anymore. It was reality. The Cowboys had captured the country's imagination, and they weren't letting go. Breathe deeply, relax your shoulders, and let's move through a time of change. Nothing lasts forever, not even the greatest dynasties. By the mid-1980s, something was shifting in Dallas. The consistency, the winning seasons, they continued, but the edge was dulling. The championships had stopped coming. The Cowboys were still good, still competitive, but they weren't dominant anymore. The Landry era, after nearly 3 decades of excellence, was beginning to fade. Age catches everyone. The game was evolving. Younger coaches were bringing new ideas. And Tom Landry, still wearing his fedora, still standing stoically on the sideline, was facing the inevitable passage of time. The 1988 season ended with a losing record. 3 wins and 13 losses. It was shocking. Unthinkable, really. This was Dallas. This was Tom Landry's team. But the results were undeniable. The roster had aged. The magic was gone. And after 29 years, after 2 Super Bowl championships, after establishing the franchise as a powerhouse, Tom Landry was released. February 25, 1989. It was the end of an era. The only coach the Cowboys had ever known was gone. For fans who had grown up with Landry, who had never known the Cowboys without him, it was heartbreaking. He was more than a coach. He was the identity of the franchise. And now, he was gone. Into this void stepped a man who would change everything. Jerry Jones, a businessman from Arkansas with oil and gas money, a former football player himself at the University of Arkansas, a man with ambition, with vision, with a willingness to take big risks. In February of 1989, Jerry Jones purchased the Dallas Cowboys for $140 million. At the time, it seemed like an enormous sum, a staggering investment. But Jones wasn't just buying a football team. He was buying a brand, an institution, a piece of American sports culture. And immediately, Jerry Jones made a controversial decision. He fired Tom Landry. Well, technically, Landry had already been released by the previous ownership. But Jones was the face of it, the man who officially ended the Landry era. And to many fans, it felt like betrayal. How dare this outsider, this Arkansas businessman, come in and discard a legend? The criticism was intense. The anger was real. But Jerry Jones, he had a plan. And that plan required a clean break from the past. Jones hired Jimmy Johnson as the new head coach. Jimmy Johnson, who had been Jones's teammate at the University of Arkansas. They had played football together. They knew each other. They trusted each other. Johnson was brash, confident, intense. He had just won a national championship at the University of Miami. He knew how to build winning programs, but hiring him felt like nepotism to many. Jerry Jones hiring his college buddy. It seemed like the Cowboys were being run like a good old boys club. The skepticism was widespread. This was a disaster in the making, or so people thought. What happened next is one of the most famous trades in NFL history. October 12, 1989. The Cowboys traded Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, their star running back, one of the most talented players in football. They sent him to the Minnesota Vikings. And in return, they received a massive haul. Players, and more importantly, draft picks. Lots of draft picks. At first, it seemed like Dallas had given up. They were trading away their best player. They were tanking, giving up on competing. But Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, they were playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Those draft picks, that capital, it allowed Dallas to rebuild, to draft young talent, to construct a roster from the ground up. The Herschel Walker trade brought in the resources that would rebuild the franchise. It's now considered one of the most lopsided trades in sports history. Minnesota thought they were getting a superstar who would carry them to a championship. Dallas knew they were getting the building blocks of a dynasty. The foundation of that dynasty started with the 1989 NFL Draft. The Cowboys had the first overall pick, and they used it on a quarterback from UCLA, Troy Aikman. Tall, strong-armed, poised. Aikman had the talent, the intelligence, the leadership qualities. He was the franchise quarterback they needed, the centerpiece around which everything else would be built. His rookie season was rough. The team went 1-15, but that was expected. This was a rebuilding year. Aikman was learning, growing, developing. The year before, in 1988, the Cowboys had already drafted another key piece, Michael Irvin, a wide receiver from the University of Miami. Irvin had played for Jimmy Johnson in college. Johnson knew what he was getting: talent, confidence, swagger. Irvin was flashy. He talked. He celebrated. He had personality. And he could play. He could catch any pass thrown his way. He was physical, willing to block, willing to do the dirty work. But he also had that star quality, that magnetism. Michael Irvin would become known as the playmaker. And then, in 1990, the final piece fell into place. The NFL draft. The Cowboys had multiple picks thanks to the Herschel Walker trade. In the first round, they selected Emmitt Smith, a running back from the University of Florida. Smith wasn't the biggest back, wasn't the fastest. Scouts questioned whether he had elite physical tools. But what Emmitt Smith had was vision, toughness, determination, an ability to find holes, to gain tough yards, to produce consistently, week after week, year after year. He ran with power and patience, and he had something else, heart, a refusal to be denied. Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, the triplets, 3 players, drafted within 3 years of each other, who would form the foundation of the Cowboys' greatest dynasty. They were young, talented, hungry, and together, they would bring Dallas back to glory, back to championships, back to dominance. But that would take a little time. First, they had to learn to win. They had to build chemistry. They had to grow together. The early 90s were coming, and the Cowboys, under Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, with Aikman and Irvin and Smith, were about to shock the world. Let yourself drift now, as one era closes, and another, more spectacular, is about to begin. Rest easy. In this moment of transition, knowing that greatness is just around the corner. Settle in, let the tension leave your body, and witness the return to glory. The pieces had come together. Troy Aikman was no longer a rookie learning the ropes. He was a confident, experienced quarterback. Michael Irvin had established himself as one of the league's most dangerous receivers. And Emmitt Smith, he was becoming unstoppable. The defense was fast and aggressive. Jimmy Johnson's coaching had taken root. The culture had changed. And the Cowboys, they were ready. That season, Dallas went 13-3, their best record in decades. The dynasty, the one Jerry Jones had envisioned, the one everyone thought was impossible. It was happening. The playoffs came, and Dallas rolled through them. Dominant performances, convincing victories, and then the Super Bowl. January 31st, 1993, Super Bowl 27. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, who had lost 2 straight Super Bowls, were back again, searching for their first championship. But this was Dallas's time. From the opening kickoff, the Cowboys were in control. Everything worked. Every play, every drive. The offense was explosive. The defense was suffocating. Buffalo couldn't keep up. The final score, 52-17. A 35-point victory, the largest Super Bowl win margin in franchise history. It wasn't just a win. It was a statement, a demolition, coronation. The Cowboys were back. No question, no doubt. They were champions again, and they had done it in spectacular fashion. Dominant, unstoppable, undeniable. Troy Aikman orchestrated the offense beautifully. For touchdown passes, surgical precision, he spread the ball around, found open receivers, made it look easy. When the confetti fell, when the trophy was handed out, Troy Aikman was named Super Bowl 27 MVP. The quarterback who had endured that 1-15 rookie season, who had been part of the rebuilding, who had stayed patient through the growing pains. He was now a Super Bowl MVP, a champion, vindicated. But the Cowboys, they weren't satisfied with one championship. The next season, 1993, Dallas remained dominant. 12 wins and 4 losses. Another playoff run. Another path to the Super Bowl. And waiting for them, once again, was Buffalo. The Bills were back for their fourth straight Super Bowl, still searching for that elusive first championship. And Dallas, they were there to deny them again. Super Bowl 28, January 30th, 1994. This game was closer. Buffalo fought harder. They weren't going to be embarrassed again. They led at halftime. For a moment, it seemed like this might be Buffalo's year. But the Cowboys, they were champions for a reason. They made adjustments. They executed. And in the second half, they took over. The final score, 30-13. Another convincing victory. Back-to-back championships. The Cowboys had repeated. Emmitt Smith was magnificent that day. 132 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran with power and determination. Every time Dallas needed a first down, needed to control the clock, needed to impose their will, they handed the ball to Emmitt, and he delivered. Again and again. He was the heartbeat of that offense. The foundation, the closer. 2 championships in 2 years. The triplets were at their peak. Kman, Irvin, Smith, each one playing at an elite level. Each one making everyone around them better. This was the dynasty Jerry Jones had promised. The one Jimmy Johnson had built. The Cowboys were on top of the football world. And they weren't going anywhere. But behind the scenes, tensions were growing. Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, 2 strong personalities. 2 men used to being in charge. They were clashing. Disagreements about credit, about power, about who deserved recognition for the success. It came to a head after the 1993 season. Despite winning back-to-back Super Bowls, Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones parted ways. Johnson left Dallas. It shocked everyone. How do you fire or lose a coach who just won 2 straight championships? But that's what happened. Another transition was coming. Barry Switzer took over as head coach. Another Jimmy Johnson disciple from the college ranks. And remarkably, the Cowboys kept winning. The talent was too good. The system was in place. In the 1995 season, Dallas made it back to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 30, January 28, 1996. The Cowboys versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. A rematch of sorts. These 2 franchises, with their storied history, meeting again on football's biggest stage. The game was tense, close. Pittsburgh was tough, scrappy. They weren't going to roll over. But Dallas had something special happen. Larry Brown, cornerback, not one of the stars, not one of the triplets, but on that day, he was the hero. 2 interceptions, both at critical moments, both set up Cowboys touchdowns. He completely changed the game. When it was over, when Dallas had won their 5th Super Bowl, 27-17, Larry Brown was named MVP, the unsung defender, the player who made plays when it mattered most. 5 Super Bowl championships, 3 in 4 years. The 90s dynasty was complete. The Cowboys had done what seemed impossible just a few years earlier. They had rebuilt from nothing and become champions again. Multiple times. They were America's team once more. Not just in name, but in reality. Emmitt Smith kept running, kept producing, year after year, season after season. He was consistent, durable, relentless, and during his tenure with the Cowboys, he achieved something remarkable. He became the NFL's all-time leading rusher, passing Walter Payton, passing Jim Brown, passing every great running back who had ever played the game. Over 18,000 rushing yards in his career, the most ever, and he did it with grace, with class, with that signature determination. Emmitt Smith wasn't the fastest or the biggest, but he was the best, the most productive, the most reliable, a legend. But all dynasties end. Jimmy Johnson's departure, that was the first crack. The team remained talented, remained competitive, but the magic was fading. And then, 1999, October 10th, Philadelphia. The Cowboys were playing the Eagles. Michael Irvin, the playmaker, went up for a pass. He was hit hard. He went down, and he didn't get up. A neck injury. Serious. Career-threatening. Michael Irvin, one of the great receivers in Cowboys history, would never play another down. His career was over. Just like that. In a moment. One hit. One injury. And the playmaker was done. That injury symbolized something larger. The end of the dynasty. Aikman was battling concussions. Emmett was aging. The core was breaking down. The era of dominance was over. The Cowboys would still have talented players, would still compete, but they wouldn't reach those heights again. Not for a long time. 3 championships in 4 years. A decade of dominance. The triplets, the stars, the moments, all of it part of Cowboys lore now, part of history. Rest now and remember the glory as sleep comes gently, peacefully, like the final whistle of a championship game. Let your mind drift, breathe slowly, and journey through the years of longing. Since 1996, the Dallas Cowboys have not appeared in a Super Bowl. Let that sink in for a moment. Nearly 3 decades, an entire generation of fans who have never seen their team play for a championship. After the glory of the 90s, after 3 Super Bowl victories in 4 years, the drought began, and it continues still. Playoff appearances, yes. Winning seasons, certainly. But that ultimate goal, that return to the Super Bowl, it remains elusive, frustratingly, maddeningly elusive. The early 2000s were a search for identity, for a quarterback, for a spark. The team cycled through players, through coaches, trying to recapture what had been lost. And then, from the most unlikely of places, a hero emerged. Tony Romo, undrafted, not selected by any team in the 2003 NFL Draft. He signed with Dallas as a free agent. A long shot, a player most teams hadn't even considered. But Tony Romo, he had talent, instinct, the ability to make plays when plays needed to be made. He waited, watched, learned, and when his opportunity came, he seized it. In 2006, Romo became the starting quarterback, and suddenly, the Cowboys had something they'd been missing: excitement, explosiveness, a quarterback who could improvise, who could extend plays, who could turn broken plays into touchdowns. Tony Romo was electric. Fans loved him. He brought hope back to Dallas. For over a decade, he was the face of the franchise, the leader, the one who carried the team on his back. When his career ended, after injuries took their toll, after his body could no longer withstand the punishment, Tony Romo had thrown for over 34,000 passing yards. He had won games, made Pro Bowls, set franchise records. But the one thing that eluded him was a Super Bowl appearance. He came close, had playoff moments, but never quite got there. And for Romo, and for Cowboys fans, that will always be the what if, the unfulfilled promise. What if he'd had a better defense? What if the breaks had gone differently? What if Texas Stadium, that iconic venue with the hole in the roof, saw its share of drama over the years? One moment stands out. September 24, 2000. The San Francisco 49ers were visiting Dallas, and their star receiver, Terrell Owens, had a flair for the dramatic. After scoring a touchdown, Owens ran to midfield, to the Dallas Cowboys star logo, and he celebrated, right there, on the star, in front of Cowboys fans, mocking them, disrespecting their symbol. The crowd was furious. Cowboys players were livid. Later in the game, Owens scored again, and he did it again. Ran to the star, celebrated on the logo. This time, Cowboys safety George Teague had enough. He sprinted over and leveled Owens, knocked him off the star. The place erupted. It became one of the most memorable moments in Texas Stadium history. Controversial, emotional, unforgettable. After the 2008 season, Texas Stadium closed its doors. For 38 years, it had been home, the place where championships were won, where legends played, where the hole in the roof let in the Texas sun, and maybe, just maybe, let God watch his favorite team. The final game was bittersweet, a chapter closing, an era ending. Fans said goodbye to the old stadium, knowing they'd never see another game there. The memories would remain, but the building would soon be gone. In 2010, Texas Stadium was imploded, demolished, reduced to rubble, making way for the future, and that future was spectacular. AT&T Stadium opened in 2009 in Arlington, Texas, just down the road from where Texas Stadium had stood. But this was different. This wasn't just a stadium. It was a cathedral, a monument. Jerry Jones spared no expense. The cost? $1.3 billion. At the time, the most expensive sports venue ever built. Everything about it was massive, grand, over the top. The stadium could hold over 100,000 fans. And it did. It set a world attendance record. 105,121 people. For a Cowboys game, an ocean of fans. The noise, the energy, it was overwhelming. This was more than football. This was spectacle. This was entertainment on the grandest scale imaginable. Inside the stadium, hanging above the field, was something unprecedented. A video board, but not just any video board. The largest in the world at the time, 60 yards long, from 20-yard line to 20-yard line. High definition, crystal clear. You could see every detail, every replay, every emotion on the players' faces. Some punters complained it hung too low, that they could hit it with their punts. But that was the point. Everything about AT&T Stadium was bigger, bolder, more impressive than anything that had come before. The stadium became more than just the Cowboys' home. It hosted Super Bowls, NBA All-Star games, college football playoffs, boxing matches, concerts, World Cup matches, any major event, any spectacle. AT&T Stadium wanted it, and they got it. The venue became the highest-grossing sports venue globally, more revenue than any other stadium in the world. It was a business, an attraction, a destination. Jerry Jones had built his palace, his monument. Some called it Jerry World, and it fit. This was his vision realized. A stadium that reflected his ambitions, his dreams, his belief that Dallas should be the center of the sports universe. Love him or hate him, you couldn't deny what he'd built. AT&T Stadium was impressive, magnificent, a testament to what's possible when someone refuses to think small. But here's the thing about magnificent stadiums. They don't win championships. The Cowboys played in that billion-dollar palace, in front of 100,000 fans, with the biggest video board in the world hanging overhead, and they still hadn't been back to the Super Bowl. The stadium was spectacular. The team was good, sometimes very good, but not great, not championship caliber, not yet. The search continued for the right coach, the right players, the right combination, the formula that would bring Dallas back to glory, back to championships, back to where they belonged. The stadium was ready. The fans were ready. They'd been ready for decades. All they needed was for the team to catch up to the ambition of its owner, to the expectations of its fan base, to the legacy of its history. Rest now, in this palace of football, and dream of what might still be, of championships yet to come. As sleep embraces you, gently, peacefully, like a Texas evening, close your eyes, let yourself relax, and witness the emergence of a new generation. The 2016 NFL Draft. Every year, teams hope to find franchise-changing players, stars who will carry them for a decade. Dallas was about to get lucky, very lucky. In the first round, 4th overall, they selected a running back from Ohio State, Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke, he was powerful, fast, versatile. He could run between the tackles. He could catch passes. He could pass block, complete back, the kind of player you build an offense around. Jerry Jones and the front office were thrilled. They had their next great running back, their next Emmitt Smith, perhaps, but the Real Steal came later. 4th round, pick number 135. The Cowboys selected a quarterback from Mississippi State, Dak Prescott, a small school player, not expected to start immediately, maybe not ever. He was a backup, a developmental project. Insurance. Tony Romo was still the starter. Prescott would learn, wait his turn. That was the plan. But plans, they have a way of changing. Training camp, preseason. Dak Prescott looked good, really good, poised, confident, accurate. And then Tony Romo got injured, a back injury in the preseason. Suddenly, unexpectedly, Dak Prescott was the starter, a 4th-round rookie, thrust into the spotlight. Leading America's team, the pressure was enormous. The expectations were non-existent. Nobody thought he'd succeed. This was supposed to be a bridge. A few games until Romo returned. But Dak Prescott, he was special. Week 1, he played well. Week 2, even better. Week 3, the Cowboys were winning. And Prescott wasn't just managing games. He was making plays, leading drives, looking like a veteran. By week 5, he had done something remarkable. 5 straight games with multiple touchdown passes. Tied an NFL rookie record. 5 games, multiple touchdowns each time. This wasn't a fluke. This wasn't luck. Dak Prescott was the real deal. Ezekiel Elliott was dominating too, running over defenders, breaking tackles. The offensive line, one of the best in football, was opening massive holes, and Zeke was exploding through them, game after game, week after week. The rookie combination of Prescott and Elliott was unstoppable. Nobody saw this coming. A 4th-round quarterback and a 1st-round running back. Both rookies, both playing like all pros. The Cowboys finished the season 13-3, their best record in years. The playoffs beckoned. Hope was alive. Maybe, just maybe, this was the year they'd break through. Return to the Super Bowl. The pieces seemed to be in place. Young stars, veteran leadership, momentum, but the playoffs, they were cruel. A heartbreaking loss to Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers working his magic, and the Cowboys' season ended. Still, the future looked bright. Prescott and Elliott were here to stay. That same year, 2016, the Cowboys made another major change. They moved their headquarters. For decades, they'd practiced and worked out of Valley Ranch in Irving, Texas. But Jerry Jones, he wanted something more, something befitting America's team. And so, the Star was born in Frisco, Texas, a sprawling complex, 91 acres, state-of-the-art everything, practice fields, meeting rooms, medical facilities, and at its center, a 12,000-seat indoor facility. Fans could watch practice. The entire complex was designed to be transparent, accessible, a destination. The Star wasn't just for football. It included retail, restaurants, office space, a hotel, entertainment venues. It was a city within a city, a hub. Jerry Jones had created more than a training facility. He'd created a brand headquarters, a place where the Cowboys would live, work, and connect with fans year-round. It opened to great fanfare, and it quickly became one of the premier facilities in all of professional sports. Looking back through Cowboys history, certain players define eras. DeMarcus Ware was one of those players, pass rusher, a defensive end who terrified quarterbacks. He played for Dallas from 2005 to 2013, and during that time, he became the franchise's all-time sack leader. 117 sacks in a Cowboys uniform. Week after week, season after season, he was relentless, chasing down quarterbacks, forcing fumbles, changing games. When he left Dallas, he went to Denver and won a Super Bowl. And then, years later, he received the ultimate honor, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Inducted in 2023, a gold jacket, immortality. DeMarcus Ware will forever be remembered as one of the great defensive players in Cowboys history. The draft, it's always about finding the next star. In 2020, Dallas selected a wide receiver from Oklahoma, CeeDee Lamb, pick number 17. He was smooth, talented, great hands, excellent route running. The Cowboys needed a number one receiver, someone to replace the production they'd lost. CeeDee Lamb, he delivered. Year after year, he got better. More catches, more yards, more touchdowns. And then, in 2023, he did something historic. He broke Michael Irvin's franchise record for receiving yards in a season. Michael Irvin, the playmaker, one of the greatest receivers in team history, and CeeDee Lamb had surpassed him. 1,769 yards, a new franchise record. The torch had been passed. Defense, it's always about creating turnovers. And in 2022, the Cowboys drafted a cornerback in the 5th round, Darren Bland, from Fresno State. Not a high pick, not someone expected to start immediately, but Bland. He had a nose for the ball. In 2023, his second season, he did something unprecedented. 5 pick sixes, 5 interceptions returned for touchdowns. In a single season, he shattered the NFL record. Nobody had ever done that. Defensive touchdowns are rare. Lightning in a bottle plays. But Darren Bland, he kept doing it. Game after game, running back interceptions for scores. By the end of the season, he owned the record. 5 pick sixes, a mark that may never be broken. That 2023 defense was special. Ball hawks everywhere, creating opportunities, forcing mistakes. Dallas led the entire NFL in takeaways. 33 times. They took the ball away from opponents. Interceptions, fumble recoveries. The defense was aggressive, tacking, making plays. It was reminiscent of the great doomsday defenses, a unit that changed games, that gave the offense short fields, that scored points themselves. Special teams matter too. And in 2023, the Cowboys found a kicker who was automatic. Brandon Aubrey, a former professional soccer player who transitioned to football. When he joined Dallas, he was immediately reliable. Field goal after field goal, from any distance. In any situation, he started the season making kicks, and he kept making them, one after another. 22 straight field goals to start his career. An NFL record. No misses. Perfect. Aubrey gave the Cowboys something they'd lacked at times. Consistency, reliability, trust that when they needed 3 points, they'd get 3 points. The pieces, they're coming together again. Young stars emerging, records being broken, a defense creating turnovers, special teams excellence. The Cowboys, they're competitive, they're talented, they win games, but that ultimate goal, that Super Bowl appearance, it still waits. The drought continues, but hope remains. These young players, Prescott, Elliott, Lamb, Bland, Aubrey, they represent possibility. The chance that maybe, just maybe, Dallas will return to glory. Rest now, with these new stars shining brightly, and let dreams of championships carry you softly, gently, into peaceful sleep. Breathe deeply, let tension fade away, and explore the remarkable legacy of excellence. Loyalty, that's what the Cowboys have from their fans. Unwavering, passionate loyalty. The proof? 190 consecutive sold-out games. An NFL record. Think about that. 190 games in a row. Every seat filled. Every ticket claimed. Years and years of fans packing the stadium. Through winning seasons and losing seasons. Through championships and disappointments. Through everything, the fans showed up. They supported their team. They filled the seats. That kind of devotion, it's rare, special. It speaks to something deeper than just football. It's about identity, community, being part of something larger than yourself. The NFC East, one of the most competitive divisions in football. Historic rivalries, iconic franchises, and Dallas, they've dominated it. 25 division titles, more than any other team in the division. Year after year, decade after decade, the Cowboys have found ways to win their division, to outlast their rivals, to claim the crown. Each title represents a season of excellence, a season of being the best in a division full of quality teams. 25 times, Dallas has stood atop the NFC East. 25 times, they've earned the right to represent the division in the playoffs. Speaking of playoffs, the Cowboys have been there often. 36 playoff appearances, second most all-time in the NFL. Only Green Bay has made more trips to the postseason. 36 times, Dallas has extended their season, has given their fans hope in January, has competed for championships. That consistency, that ability to be relevant year after year, it's what separates good franchises from great ones. The Cowboys, they're always in the conversation, always a contender, always fighting for playoff spots. And once they get to the playoffs, Dallas wins. Their playoff winning percentage ranks among the top teams in NFL history. They don't just make the playoffs. They succeed there. They win games. They advance. They compete for championships. Over the decades, the Cowboys have accumulated playoff victories, memorable games, historic moments. They've beaten the best teams on the biggest stages. That's what great franchises do. Thanksgiving, turkey, family, and Cowboys football. Since 1966, Dallas has hosted an annual Thanksgiving game. It's tradition now, as much a part of Thanksgiving as pumpkin pie. Families gather around the television. They eat, they relax, and they watch the Cowboys play. For nearly 60 years, this has been the routine. Some years the Cowboys are great. Some years they struggle. But they're always there. On Thanksgiving afternoon, playing football, entertaining millions. It's become part of American culture, a tradition that transcends the team itself. Rivalries define sports. They give games meaning beyond wins and losses. And the Cowboys, they have one of the fiercest rivalries in the NFL. Washington, the Commanders now, but for decades, they were the Redskins. And Dallas versus Washington, it was always more than just a game. It was personal, regional pride, division supremacy, decades of history. These teams have played each other over 100 times. They've traded victories, championships, heartbreaks. Players who join the Cowboys or Washington quickly learn. This game matters more. The intensity is higher. The emotions run deeper. It's one of the great rivalries in all of sports. Records are made to be broken, but some, they stand the test of time. The Cowboys' record of 20 straight winning seasons. From 1966 to 1985, 2 full decades without a losing record. That achievement, it's staggering. It requires organizational excellence, great coaching, talented players, smart management, consistency across every aspect of the franchise. Other teams have had great runs. 5 years, 10 years, but 20? That's unprecedented. It's a testament to Tom Landry's coaching, to Tex Schramm's management, to the scouts who found talent, to the players who executed. 20 straight winning seasons, a record that may never be matched. Greatness gets recognized. The ultimate recognition in football is the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A gold jacket, a bronze bust in Canton, Ohio. Immortality. The Dallas Cowboys have 22 players and personnel in the Hall of Fame. 22 legends. Bob Lilly, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Tom Landry, Tex Schramm, DeMarcus Ware. The list goes on. Each one contributed to the Cowboys' legacy. Each one elevated the franchise. Each one earned their place among the greatest to ever play the game. 22 Hall of Famers. That's a dynasty. That's sustained excellence over generations. Individual records matter too. Cliff Harris, a safety who played for the Cowboys in the 1970s. Part of the Doomsday Defense. He was selected to the Pro Bowl 6 times. More than any other defensive back in franchise history. 6 times. Recognized as one of the best at his position. Harris was tough, smart, a hard hitter who could also cover. He intercepted passes, forced fumbles, made plays in big moments. His 6 Pro Bowl selections, a franchise record that still stands. A testament to sustained individual excellence. Jerry Jones. Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. Since purchasing the Cowboys in 1989, he's been ever-present, visible, vocal, and unique. He's the only owner in the NFL who also serves as general manager. Every other franchise separates those roles. But not Jerry. He makes the personnel decisions, negotiates the contracts, runs the draft room. Some criticize this approach, say he should hire a GM, let someone else make football decisions. But Jerry, he's committed to his way, his vision. He believes he can do it better than anyone else. And to be fair, under his ownership, the Cowboys have won 3 Super Bowls. They've remained one of the most valuable franchises in all of sports. They've stayed relevant, whether you agree with his methods or not. The results speak for themselves. And then, there are the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. They're not just cheerleaders. They're an institution, a brand within a brand. In the 1970s, under the direction of Tex Schramm, the Cowboys pioneered modern cheerleading. Before Dallas, cheerleaders were mostly just fans, amateur, local, but the Cowboys cheerleaders, They were professional, trained dancers, performers. They had uniforms that became iconic. They had choreographed routines. They became celebrities in their own right. Television cameras loved them. They appeared on magazine covers, made guest appearances on TV shows. The Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders became as famous as some of the players. They changed cheerleading forever. Other teams copied the model, but Dallas did it first, and they've maintained that standard of excellence for over 50 years. All of these elements, the sold-out games, the division titles, the playoff appearances, the Thanksgiving tradition, the fierce rivalries, the records, the Hall of Famers, Jerry Jones, the cheerleaders, they all contribute to something larger. The Cowboys aren't just a football team. They're a cultural phenomenon, a brand, an identity. America's team isn't just a nickname. It's a reality. Love them or hate them. Everyone has an opinion about the Dallas Cowboys. Everyone knows who they are. Everyone watches when they play. The legacy continues. New players join. New records are set. New memories are made. But the foundation, built over 6 decades, remains solid. The star on the helmet, the silver and blue, the tradition of excellence. It all continues, year after year, season after season. The Dallas Cowboys, forever chasing glory, forever remaining relevant, forever remaining America's team. Rest now, wrapped in this rich history, this legacy of greatness, and let sleep come gently, peacefully, like a perfect spiral thrown on a cool autumn evening. Let yourself sink deeper, relax completely, and embrace the enduring legacy of the star. Frisco, Texas, a northern suburb of Dallas. Modern, growing, thriving. This is where the Cowboys call home. The Star, their magnificent headquarters, training facility, practice fields, everything they need, all in one place. It's fitting, really. A team that represents the future, headquartered in a city that's rapidly growing. A city that embodies the ambition and progress that the Cowboys have always represented. Frisco and the Cowboys, they're perfect together. Numbers tell stories, and the Cowboys' numbers, they tell a story of sustained excellence. Their all-time regular season record ranks among the NFL's best. Over 6 decades of football, thousands of games, and more wins than losses, more victories than most franchises can dream of. Through different eras, different coaches, different players, the Cowboys have maintained a winning tradition. That consistency, that ability to remain competitive across generations, it's remarkable. It's what separates legendary franchises from ordinary ones. Walk into any sports store, anywhere in America, look at the jerseys on display, the hats, the shirts, and you'll see it, the Star. Cowboys merchandise. Year after year, season after season, the Cowboys consistently rank first in merchandise sales. Not just in Texas, not just in the South. Everywhere. People in New York wear Cowboys jerseys. Fans in California buy Cowboys hats. Children in small towns across the country ask for Cowboys gear. The brand, it transcends geography, transcends winning and losing. People want to be associated with the Cowboys, want to wear that star, want to be part of America's team. The reach extends beyond America. The Cowboys have played international preseason games in Mexico, in other countries, expanding their global footprint, building fans worldwide. Football is growing internationally, and the Cowboys, they're at the forefront, bringing their brand, their style of play, their entertainment value to new markets, new fans, creating Cowboys supporters in places that have no geographic connection to Dallas. That's the power of the brand. That's the global appeal of America's team. Value, worth. In the business world, these things matter. And the Cowboys, they're not just a successful football team. They're a business empire. In 2015, the Cowboys became the first sports franchise ever valued at $4 billion. For billion, not just in the NFL, in all of sports, worldwide, no team, in any sport, had ever been worth that much. It was a landmark moment, a testament to Jerry Jones's business acumen, to the strength of the Cowboys brand, to decades of building value. But $4 billion, that was just the beginning. By 2018, just 3 years later, the valuation had surpassed $5 billion. The growth was exponential. Other teams were valuable, but the Cowboys, they were in a class by themselves. Jerry Jones had built something unprecedented, a sports franchise that operated like a Fortune 500 company. Revenue streams everywhere, partnerships, sponsorships, media deals, merchandise, stadium events, everything contributing to the bottom line. And now, entering 2025, Forbes values the Dallas Cowboys at over $10 billion. $10 billion. It's almost incomprehensible. A single sports team worth more than many multinational corporations, more than some countries' GDP. The Cowboys aren't just the most valuable team in the NFL. They're the most valuable sports franchise in the world. That star on the helmet, it's not just a logo. It's a symbol of unprecedented commercial success. Revenue, annual revenue, tells you how much a business generates each year. The Cowboys generate over $1 billion annually. Every single year, over $1 billion flows through the franchise. Ticket sales, merchandise, sponsorships, luxury suites, stadium events, media rights. It all adds up. And it all contributes to making the Cowboys not just a football team, but a business juggernaut. Other teams are successful. Other teams make money. But nobody does it quite like Dallas. AT&T Stadium, that magnificent palace, is not just for Cowboys games. It hosts events year-round. Super Bowls, college football playoffs, boxing matches, concerts by the world's biggest artists, soccer matches, monster truck rallies, high school football championships, basketball games. If it's a major event, if it needs a massive venue, AT&T Stadium wants it. The stadium generates revenue constantly, even in the off-season, even when the Cowboys aren't playing. It's a destination, a venue, a landmark, and it contributes significantly to the franchise's financial success. That star, the simple blue star with the white border, it's one of the most recognizable symbols in all of sports. You don't need to see the word Cowboys. You don't need to see the team name, just the star. And you know, instantly, that's Dallas. That's the Cowboys. Logos are powerful. They communicate identity, values, history, and the Cowboys star, it communicates excellence. Tradition. America has been on the helmet for over 60 years, and it's never looked outdated, never needed a major redesign. It's timeless. The uniforms too, largely unchanged for decades. The silver pants, the blue jerseys at home, the white jerseys on the road, the double star on the shoulders. Clean lines, classic design, no gimmicks, no constant uniform changes like some teams do. The Cowboys look the same as they did in the 1970s, in the 1990s. Today, that consistency, it's part of the brand, part of the identity. Fans know what Cowboys uniforms look like, and they never want them to change. Players, they carry on traditions, unique pregame rituals, walking onto the field at AT&T Stadium, touching the star in the tunnel, running out to the roar of 100,000 fans. Each player develops their own routine, their own way of preparing, and these rituals, passed down from veteran to rookie, become part of the culture, part of what it means to be a Cowboy. The team has always been about more than just individual talent. It's about belonging to something larger, being part of a legacy. Polarizing, that's the word often used to describe the Cowboys. People either love them or hate them. There's rarely middle ground. Fans are passionate, devoted, they bleed silver and blue. But haters, they're passionate too. They root against Dallas. They celebrate Cowboys' losses. They resent the attention, the media coverage, the nickname America's team. This polarization, it's actually a strength. It means people care. They watch. They have opinions. And in the world of sports entertainment, attention is currency. The Cowboys have it in abundance. Turn on sports talk radio. Any day, any city, and the Cowboys will be discussed. Whether they won or lost, whether they're in contention or not. The Cowboys dominate NFL conversation. Analysts debate their every move. Draft picks are scrutinized. Coaching decisions are analyzed endlessly. Player performances are dissected. More is written about the Cowboys. More is said about them. More attention is paid to them than perhaps any other team in sports. Some find it excessive, but it speaks to their relevance, their importance, their place in the culture. More than 60 years have passed since that first season. Since 1960, since the team went 0-11-1. Since they struggled and fought and slowly built something special. 60 years of history, of moments, of players and coaches, of championships and disappointments, of legends and memories. And through it all, through every era, through every change, one thing has remained constant. The Dallas Cowboys are America's team, not because they claim to be, not because Jerry Jones says so, but because, somehow, in ways both tangible and intangible, they captured something. They represent something. To their devoted fans, they're everything. To their passionate haters, they're the team to root against. But to everyone, they matter. They're relevant. They're part of the conversation. They're part of American sports culture. The star shines on helmets, on merchandise, on that massive stadium in Arlington, on scoreboards and television screens across the nation. The Cowboys continue. New players arrive. New seasons begin. New moments are created. But the legacy, the tradition, the identity, it remains, unchanged in its essence. The pursuit of championships continues. The drought since 1996 weighs heavy. Fans need another Super Bowl, another parade, another celebration, and maybe, someday soon, it will come. But win or lose, championship or disappointment, one thing is certain: the Dallas Cowboys will remain. They'll remain relevant, remain polarizing, remain the most talked about, the most watched, the most valuable, the most American team in football, forever chasing glory, forever living up to a legacy 6 decades in the making, forever wearing that star, forever America's team. Rest now in the glow of that star and let the history wash over you, gently, peacefully, as sleep finally claims you and carries you softly into dreams of silver and blue, into dreams of championships past and championships yet to come. Sleep well, sleep deeply, good night.